Okay, welcome everybody. We are glad you're joining CertaPay today for our Coffee Break series. I am Rachel Camella, one of your hosts, and this is the Coffee Break number 3, Safety as you plan for your reopening. And on our team, we've got Cindy Merkel and Janet Lang, and your OSHA certified expert, Claire Vasquez. So we are very lucky to have Claire on our team, and she's going to join us and take us through this discussion today as we talk about safety and OSHA. So welcome everybody, and take it away, Claire.
Well, good morning everyone. I hope you have your coffee with you. I have my Starbucks chai tea latte, which my husband gets for me in the morning, although I have 2 baristas at my house. So I hope you're enjoying this morning, and little cheers for everyone. As that, I am Claire Vasquez-Peace. I will be your presenter today. I am an HR consultant for CertaPay in the Boca Raton office. I'm also certified in OSHA 30-hour general industry and have 20 years experience in human resources, legal compliance, safety program development, training, and performance management. Today, I want to talk to you about maintaining safety in the workplace. This is one of my probably most important areas that I always like to discuss, especially now that you're reopening your organization, or have reopened it already. From what I understand, some of you have already opened. So as the state begins to lift these stay-at-home orders, we need to be ready to prepare your workforce for the next phase. And what is that going to look like? Well, most important, I think, is implementing safety guidelines that your staff, customers, members, and vendors recognize that you are seriously taking strong measures to safeguard everyone. So let's start with the OSHA General Duty Clause. Does anyone know what that means? Who is responsible for preventing workplace safety? Well, I hope you answer that both you and the employee are responsible for maintaining the safety in the workplace. Everyone needs to work together, and today more than ever, I'll tell you. Well, the OSHA General Duty Clause says of the Occupational Safety and Health Act requires that each employer furnish to each of its employees a workplace that is free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. This act has not changed. It still remains the same. We will recommend that you follow the OSHA guidance. This booklet is available on the OSHA website. It's called the OSHA Guidance on Preparing Workplaces for COVID-19. I think I submitted this early as we began this, and I hope that everyone has been following it. Every industry has their own different regulations. Like I said, this booklet is available on the OSHA website, or we will be happy to send you a copy. This guidance is not a standard or regulation, and it creates nothing new above legal obligations. It does contain good recommendations as well as descriptions of mandatory safety and health standards. There are specific industry-related guidelines that you must follow, and we know some of our clients in the hospitality industry, the restaurant, the roofers, constructions, you have your own requirements that you must follow. But it's a real good booklet, and I recommend you use it. This recommendation is only intended to assist the employers in providing a safe and healthy workplace. So let's begin to be proactive and have a safe plan. What does this mean? You know, we have been doing this for so long now, and I think we're providing a lot of our clients with so much information. But I wanted to just give you the basic things here now. For example, have you updated your company policies and procedures to include the guidelines recommended by the CDC and OSHA? We recommend to add a communicable disease policy or infectious disease policy. Or let's say you can add an ADA compliant pre-pandemic employee survey. Well, what does that mean? Well, employers may make inquiries that are not disability related, or an inquiry that is not disability related if it is designed to identify potential non-medical reasons for absence during a pandemic. For example, did you remember seeing the COVID codes that required if the employee has child care problems or transportation or situations like that? Well, the inquiry is pretty much similar to that. It's, you know, you can ask about, are you going to have issues with school because the schools are closed, or public transportation, or any categories identified by the CDC. It's just a survey to see where you are. And it's kind of time for us to start surveying how our employees are feeling too. Remember, we want to create a positive workforce image that your employees feel comfortable enough to come back to work stress-free. This is not about actually increasing their fear. This is about decreasing their fear and making them feel comfortable. So what are you doing with your offices? And I hope that you're following all the CDC guidelines for cleaning and disinfecting. What about your job descriptions? Are they up to date on the PPE and physical requirements? We recommend you use those. What about personal protective equipment? Are you going to provide any or require it? This may include masks, gloves, face shields. What if the employee wants to use their own personal mask? Well, let's say the CDC has said that cloth face coverings are recommended and to reserve surgical masks and then N95 respirators for healthcare workers and other medical first responders. That's recommended by the current CDC guidelines. Listen, I have mine. This is mine. This is my other one. This is my Lily one. And this is another one. I use these. And what's good about having these in hand, that you can wash them. I throw these in the washing machine every time I go out, which is not a lot, believe me. Probably once a week I may go out. But I use these to protect myself at home, because whatever I do at home on my own, it's also important to protect your employees, to let them know that whatever they do at home, they need to be protected so they're not bringing any of these viruses to their workplace. These are the easy ones to have, and you can even hand make it. Matter of fact, the CDC has an area that you can make your own. So I recommend that if the employee wants to feel comfortable, they can bring their own, and it has to be within these simple guidelines. These are really difficult to use and to find. Matter of fact, I had this way before the COVID, because I use it when I go out and do my OSHA inspection for my for construction. I have to wear this with my hard hat, but it's not. I don't recommend that. So anyway, if you're going to provide the PPE, we recommend to have the employees sign an agreement that they will adhere to follow all applicable safety regulations. And you know what? And failure to follow or refusal to wear the PPE will lead up to discipline or termination. So it's important that you have something in place that they are going to follow and sign. I've always provided that for my clients because it's important that those PPEs are a requirement for the workplace, and you need to follow the same OSHA guidelines. So what are your return to work expectations? Well, we recommend you create a clean, disinfected office plan and have everyone follow the CDC guidelines. Remember, when using these cleaning products, check the manufacturer's label. Listen, at home, I have my Clorox. I wipe everything down every single day, believe it or not. And then after that, I use a little bit of the lemon, so it makes it smell better. During the day, we're constantly cleaning what we're using. So we have all of these that have been approved. And don't forget your hand sanitizers as well. So all of these products are right here at the house. Matter of fact, I make sure that whoever comes into my home takes their shoes off, and the hand sanitizer is right by the front door, by the foyer. If you plan to use, let's say, for example, an employee health screening procedures, what does it look like? And is it for new hires or your returning workers? What are you doing? Make sure that before you use one of those that you check with us, because these are things that we want to make sure that you're in compliance. We recommend to communicate to your employees. If one has been exposed to COVID, make sure you have some way of communicating with that. Besides tracking the information in CertaPay, we also recommend to keep a log with the employee's name, the age, the gender, race, and reasons. Why I'm telling you this is because I really want you to be proactive, just in the event someone comes up with a potential claim. So have that log in place. I just spoke to a client yesterday, and he's been using it for a long time, because some of these things that we want to make sure that no one comes back and says that you were discriminatory anyway. We also recommend establishing physical distancing measures. If you're going to have people coming back, yes, ma'am.
Claire,
yes.
Is the log required for OSHA, or is this just for internal use of recording?
This is more for internal use of recording, and it's a way to keep track of it. With the CertaPay, with our codes are already in there, but it's also important just to track it, and just keeping in mind that when you're logging in CertaPay, it does not require this, but for compliance purposes, we can see a lot of these potential discrimination claims arising because of certain situations that were not in place in the beginning. So it is a recommendation. It is not, and it's encouraged, but it's not a requirement. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Keep going.
All right, good. So we recommend establishing, like I said, you're bringing people back to the workplace, listen, stagger their shifts or lunch breaks, not Rotate the weeks in the office. For example, my husband's office, they have 35 in the office, but they're rotating their weeks. He goes there 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. And then the rest of the other partners, they take turns. Everyone is at distance from 6 feet separation. Move the workstations if you need to increase that separation distance. You have to be really creative. Use your creativity in this. Add hand sanitizers. Remember, these little hand sanitizers, add them to increase to help within the time clocks or the bathrooms. Remember, those time clocks that you're using, how many people put their hands on them? So if you can put hand sanitizers, the ones that are on the wall, that's great, because every time, and make sure they dry their hands, because they can't use the hand sanitizer and then put their hands on the time clock, because obviously it's not going to work. So remember, every time someone touches that time clock, there could be exposure, not just to COVID, but to also many other viruses that we have around. Are we good, guys? We're still there?
You're good.
Make sure to place the CDC posters throughout your facilities, the time clock, the bathrooms, each office. Don't leave out. Okay, I got muted. Don't leave the customer or the member bath. Don't forget to put these signs in the member bathroom, especially for the hospitality, the country club. Make sure you put these signs in the member bathrooms as well. If you don't have those posters, talk to us. We have all the required posters. I can't stress that enough. We have everything there to help you during this transition. Set a daily reminder, because this will continue for a long time, guys. This is not going to go away. This is the norm right now. Use the OSHA stop poster in front of your door. And if you haven't seen one, call one of us and we'll send you one. I have to give kudos to our client, Ken Kelly. I have to say this. He's the owner of Kelly Roofing in Bonita Springs. He has been proactive from the beginning, and he has placed the appropriate signs for customers in front of the showroom door and created even a YouTube video. I was so impressed with this, for his employees, both in English and Spanish. Check it out. It's under Kelly Roofing. And it's a great YouTube video, because it explains everything to his employees of what's going on. So when cleaning the offices, the break rooms, the restaurants, or the clubhouses, please follow these CDC guidelines. They are important. Wear disposable gloves. I mean, I have these at home when I'm going out, and they're funky, but I actually had these way before that, because I clean everything with gloves on. I never want the chemicals inside my fingernails. It's not good for your nice nails after you'd have them done, ladies. So make sure you wear disposable gloves to clean all and disinfect. Clean the surfaces using soap and water. That's so easy, but then use disinfectant as well. Follow the manufacturer's guidelines. OSHA is very strict on this. If you're not following it, make sure that you read the back labels, especially with the hazmats. They have specific guidelines that you need to follow on there. If you're diluting, use unexpired household bleach. I just do that with household bleach and some water, but that's sodium hypochlorite. The solution, the EPA recommends that it has to be within 1,000 ppm. Check that out. That's important, and to look up what that means too when you're diluting something with household bleach. Wet the contact times for chlorine range could be from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. Just because you sprayed it and wipe it down, let it sit there, because the 2 to 10 minutes, depending on the manufacturer's guidelines, that helps a lot. My son, who's a first responder, says, Mom, just let us sit there. We have to do this every day, every single day. Because depending on the micro or the virus, it could be sitting there for a couple of minutes. But the moment you spray that Clorox or that household bleach, then let it sit there. That includes anywhere from home or at the office as well. Always use those EPA registered cleaners for coronavirus. Those are important. So let's talk about cleaning with soap and water. We know it reduces number of germs, dirt, impurities on the surface. Disinfecting kills germs on the surface. So practice this routine cleaning of frequently touched areas at home and at work. Have a rule at home, like I do, no shoes in the house, and hand sanitizers right at the front door. Because if you have animals or young children like I do at home, that baby or dog or cat, if you have one, will pick up that bacteria off the floor, then jump on your bed or sofa, and guess what? you just exposed everyone to those nasty shoes and dirt that comes in the house. That's our rule. That's my rule at home. I hope you follow it as well. Make sure all tables, doorknobs, light switches, countertops, handles, desks, phones, keyboards, toilets, faucets, sinks are cleaned daily. I have to protect my family by all measures because we have a 9-month-old grandbaby at home and a first responder at home too. So that daily cleaning has become the norm in our house every single day. How about your break rooms? In the break rooms, have employees store their food in the refrigerator using a clear plastic bag. We recommend these little clear plastic bags, put their names on it. This is so much easier because then they can toss it away. Remember, when you start bringing those large bags, we don't know if it's been contaminated. So this is our recommendation, to use clear plastic Ziploc bags with the name on it. And then just throw it, the person can throw it out. Boy, we're going to be using a lot more plastic lately as a result of this, But let's plan ahead. Train your managers first. Then make sure your managers train the staff in all languages. If you have Spanish speaking, Creole, make sure that those employees have been trained in the language that they are comfortable with. For example, many OSHA standards require that employees receive their training so that work will be performed in a safe and healthful manner. That is the important thing. But if your managers are not trained first, then what good is that going to be? So, and if they're going to train, make sure that training requires, or the instructions, however, in a manner or in a language that is understandable to employees. There are violations for that. If you do not train them and the employee has had a fatality or an injury that has hospitalized them, you could be in a violation. So consider the daily safety awareness training. Have a team leader do a daily walkthrough. Pick someone every week. If you're in the facilities, or let's say in golf maintenance, or in food and beverage, or in the offices, or somewhere in the facility set. Educate your employees on how to reduce the spread of COVID at home and at work. Use the CDC guidelines. I cannot, tell you anymore that you have to use these CDC guidelines. Have your employees sign your new healthy workplace guidelines. So the fear of returning back to work is minimized, that they know you have a plan in place, right? Any questions so far on these guidelines before I move to record keeping?
No, ma'am. Keep going.
Okay, good. So let's say now that OSHA wants you to maintain anything that is work-related, any injuries that are work-related, right? The OSHA record-keeping requirements are mandated to cover employees that you have to record an injury or illness on the OSHA log. And we have that in CertaPay. It's one of my favorite areas, is our OSHA log. The 300 is in there, the incident report is in there. You capture that information. And if you have not seen that site, I would tell you, go to the employee profile, look up, and then under incidents or injuries, you can see where all that information is gathered, because that information will be good for your workers' comp carrier, and also good for your OSHA logs at the end of the year. Anything that's, and if it's recordable, there's a little check mark at the bottom of that OSHA thing. It says that if it's recordable or not. Now, OSHA is not going to retract the concept that COVID is a recordable illness. I'm not going there. But acknowledging that it's been difficult for employees to make that determination. We are not physicians or MROs to determine that, or an IME, right? They don't want employers to have to spend a lot of resources trying to affirmatively find this answer. So we're not recommending that you try to look for this information. What we are recommending is that you maintain all the incident reports in CertaPay and the employee profile, and then speak to your broker about that. COVID-19 can be recordable if the worker is infected as a result of performing their work-related duties. And the employers, I'll tell you, the employers are going to be responsible for recording these cases if and all are true. So what is that? Well, the case is confirmed by COVID-19. The case is work-related, and the case involves one or more of the general recording criteria that is beyond first day or days away from work. So speak to your brokers. You call us. We can guide you what's first day, what's not. But you still have to maintain those incident logs and capture enough information, even pictures, if you can, because that documentation is going to be extremely important later on to fight that claim. Record it on the OSHA log. Yes, ma'am.
Claire, I want to ask you something. If we have a confirmed case, and how do we know it's work related? We think it is because the employee has been doing a lot of stuff in the office, but how do we know it's a case we have to record? If he's been away from work for a week already.
So then that's a perfect question. That's a perfect scenario, Paula. I'm glad you're there. Paula is with Kelly Roofing. Kudos to them because I'm so proud of them right now. So it's important that you gather that information in the incident log. You have your incident log because I've seen them, and then call your workers' comp carrier. Let them go through the process, and then once if they define that it's work related, that little check mark at the bottom, then hit that check mark. If they don't, then you don't. But you still need to record it, because what if, I don't know, a month from now, 2 months from now, they decide that it becomes. So my recommendation is always call your workers' comp carrier, contact them right away, let them go through their due diligence in that process, that interactive process that they're gathering all the information, they contact the employee, and then they'll determine in what direction to go with that. Does that help? Because we don't want, at this point, we are not in a position to make those determinations. We are not, like I said, we are not MROs, we're not IMEs, we're not an adjuster. Unless you are, that's different, but we're not in that position to say, well, I don't think it is.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, be careful on that. You want to be practical and say, I'm going to take this to my workers' comp carrier and let them make that final decision, because that's what you pay them for, right? So,
yes,
any other questions related to that?
But I'm sorry, Karen, but in this case, for instance, it's only for the ones that are has a positive result, or is anyone that is getting sick that we don't know?
That's positive on COVID. Has been positive on COVID.
Has been positive. Okay, thank you.
Right. Has been positive on COVID.
Thank you.
So that's and that's really important, because this is going to become probably a challenge, and I would say that's the challenge that we're going to see. That COVID-19 is a paradigm shift. It's a new challenge that we must address, and it will reshape society in lasting ways. It's something that we really want you to stick to these CDC guidelines, and as well your OSHA recommendations. So our recommendation is to appoint a coordinator responsible for all things that are COVID related. Have someone there that the employees can go to. For example, I just spoke with Paula. I know Paula is the point of contact for them. If you go to their YouTube website, she's explaining it to the employees in Spanish, and Ken is explaining it to them in English. So it's important that they know who to go to. Offer flexibility in the work and the locations, the workload. Just be creative. Think out of the box. Remember, think out of the box. Just in those terms, and provide the training and information about safety, following the CDC and OSHA guidelines. Remember, if your employees are not following the same guidelines at home, well, they're coming with that exposure to the workplace. So I would advise everyone to follow that and sign off that they are going to follow all the safety regulations, all the CDC regulations, and sign off on it at home and at place. Because the moment that they don't follow those criteria at home, they're bringing it back to the workplace. Then be prepared to deal with the personal challenges. And we're already hearing this from so many of our clients, that fear of coming back to work, that absenteeism. We prepare letters for the employees to come back to work. We're giving them time. And listen, be mindful and genuine when you're speaking to someone, that if they have that fear, well, what is that fear? Let's talk about that. And then again, you can always call us to help you, through that process, because it is going to become challenging and very stressful. So we want to minimize that stress. Well, how do you do that? By creating these great safety guidelines and implementing a good disinfecting in the workplace, using these, the Clorox or whatever is important. Listen, at the end of the day, don't forget to show appreciation for your returning employees. Do something nice that's great when they're coming back, because they've been absent for a month to 2 months. That's important, that they know that you do care about them. This is the most unusual and unpredictable crisis that I personally and many of America has witnessed. It is a crisis that most of us have not experienced in our lives besides 9/11. One thing I tell you is clear, that your employees are looking for the leader in you to have a crisis management plan in place. You have to have that clear plan in place. Human beings are amazingly resilient. Show them that your organization cares about them. And before I conclude, remember, we can start the economy and put people back to work, and we have to do so in a way that is keeping our workers safe. To manage the new normal will take the leadership on your part, right? So this has concluded our coffee chat, and what questions do you have for our HR ninjas?
All right, Claire.
Wonderful. Yes, thanks so much, Claire. This is amazing, fantastic information. And again, we're so glad you're all here for our coffee chat. We do see a couple questions coming in, so we are happy to go over them all the way through. So go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, Claire, your first question. What about those who think this is no big deal and you know they are not following recommendations at home on their personal time?
Yeah, that's a big challenge, and that's why I feel it's important that we have some type of policy, especially if they're working from home. Like, I just told you everything that I do. That's, it's kind of, I know a little bit, always being careful, but you will have those individuals that just don't care. We have the protesters out on the streets without the mask. I mean, they're exposing those. One of the things that OSHA always says, that you have to create an environment that is safe and healthy for your workplace. But those that refuse to follow it, at the end of the day, if they're not following the same standards, the same cultural, the same rules that you have applied to the workplace, and they're exposing, and you created that imminent danger, well, they might not be a good fit for the company, I hate to say. But having that policy in place that they will continue to follow the CDC guidelines at home and as well as work is important, that they know that culture right now will change. It will become the norm, and it's something that we have to be mindful about that. But it's unfortunate that you may have those challenges, and those that are not going to go follow those, well, they might not be a good fit for your organization. And do you really want someone that is going to retaliate against you for having these good, safe practices in place? Think about that.
Claire, this just needs some follow-up. Again, how do you determine if the COVID-19 case was work-related? Is it possible to know where it was contracted from, et cetera? Basically just what you said before, as far as there's no true way to know how the individual has gotten it, and if you feel that it's work-related, then go ahead and follow your workers' comp protocol. Procedures.
Correct. We are not MROs. We're not IMEs. If I had an MD in my initials, I'll tell you a different story, but we're not. We're not MDs to diagnose those situations. That's why your carriers are important. They should be your partners during this time. And I'm hearing a lot of these situations from our workers' comp attorney partners that are starting to face this, and all they're saying is just capture as enough information as you can, use those incident logs, and have that employee write down exactly what happened or what they felt, and whether it's in English or Spanish or Creole, whatever language they fill it out in, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's going to go to your adjuster. Now let them decide. You don't want to have a workers' comp retaliation lawsuit against you. That's the last thing you want to do.
And I just wanted to go back real quick to that other question too, about what if somebody's not following the recommendations, and add that this is where training can be really useful. So if you cover how this is spread and how it's contagious, and give a lot of training about the actual spread of this virus, it will give people good information. It will resonate. There's going to be something they get from that. So if they realize how quickly things spread on surfaces and through the air, and how much time and how fast, and if they understand these pieces, then they're more likely to be mindful of it at home as well as in the office. So when you have your practices in place in the office, the training is really going to reinforce that. So it's a good thing to make sure you add in.
Correct. Correct. That training is important. And don't forget, you know, what I said earlier, if you have a non-English speaking employees, it is your responsibility to train that employee in a language that they understand, or the instructions, however you do it. Because I have seen those high violations from other clients because I had one that had a fatality, and they fined them because that employer did not follow the OSHA guidelines to train that employee in language that they spoke, which is Spanish. Well, and that was a temporary employee, because you're also responsible for your temporary employees to make sure that if you're using anyone from a temporary agency, those employees need to go through the same guidelines and same training as your own employees, because that becomes a joint relationship. That's another topic I talk about, but I mean, that's important to remember, that those temporaries are also your employees, and you are responsible to make sure that they are properly trained and have them sign off on it.
Claire, I do not see any more questions in the chat box. However,
Okay.
for everyone out there, if you would type in your email into the chat box, I will capture that and ensure that you get any necessary information pertaining to today's presentation.
All right, guys. Well, be safe. This is important. Be safe. Just start your training. Start following these guidelines. If you need that booklet from OSHA for following the CDC and the OSHA COVID guidelines, just email Cindy and we'll get that out to you. And any of the posters that we recommend. I appreciate your time. Stay safe.
Absolutely, and thank you all for joining CertaPay for our weekly coffee break. And next week's coffee break will be hiring in our new remote workforce world. So we look forward to all of you joining us again for our next coffee break. And thanks so much. Hope you guys have a great day.